sometimes to see where you're going, it's important to reflect. The funny thing about reflecting is if you hold a mirror in front of your face, everything that you have behind you is also visible. This is my literacy journey, and I hope to inspire you on yours. I'm Melanie. As I think about how my communication has grown over the years, there are some pretty important moments. When I was small, my grandma would read to me, and I'd spend hours on her lap. It wasn't until I went to school that I had a different kind of experience with literacy. Second grade, my reading teacher moved me to the group with the slower kids, and I was crushed. Even when I would write papers, they would come back to me with poor grades and red marks all over. In middle school, I got to be a reporter, and it was super fun. In high school, there was the opportunity to have a creative writing class. Miss Lee was amazing. She started us journaling, and it was more that we wrote something every day, not so much that it was perfect. Okay, now fast forward. Because I got married, had kids, moved to Germany and Tennessee and Virginia. Tennessee. I began homeschooling my girls. Their brother hadn't been born yet. And it was important to me that they were able to understand everything I was teaching them. And with being in the military, I didn't want to put them in school and out of school and in school and out of school every time we moved. We had so much fun learning. This is where I started wanting to write children's books. So I've done a few storyboards, but I only put one together, finally, just this year. And I turned it into a video.
Oh no, what happened to the cow? He jumped over the moon. She must still be out there. We had to save her.
The original is based off of my daughters, and it's called The Silly Girls. My new one is called The Silly Sisters. I'm getting ahead of myself. We moved to Kansas. I had their brother. My husband had a 3-month training in Mississippi, and I didn't want him to miss any part of our kids while he was gone. So I picked up journaling again. This is the picture we took as a family the day he left. Just after this training, I found out he didn't want to be married anymore. So after 14 years, we parted, and I still had the habit of journaling. For the most part, I've continued to journal, and now I have over 60 journals covering a span of 20 years. I moved to Colorado with my son. My daughters had already moved out. I got invited to be a co-host for a podcast for Star Trek.
Okay, they mention it as far as them not being able to pick up this life form on their sensors, but it seems like the life forms were primitive enough they should have been able to pick them up on sensors.
And big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I had some trouble with one of the ships. Like, I was like, does their ship not function as a spaceship again? You know, the Aqua Shuttle? I don't know.
We got smashed.
That was a really fun year, and what an opportunity to be on a podcast. I started a blog. It was basically just about all of the dumb dates I went on. Not that I was trying to find dumb dates, but I didn't know about what red flags I should be looking for, and I had gotten married when I was 17, so I was very unfamiliar with dating and what to expect. So I wrote about it, and it's pretty vulnerable. You know, my single friends loved it because they felt less alone with their bad dates. And my married friends loved it because it comforted them that they were married and didn't have to go through anything crazy to find love. Still have a ton of stories I could write because, like I said, I've been journaling. It was around this time that I decided that I wanted to do something meaningful, like a TED Talks. But I was kind of nervous, so I thought that maybe doing something like open mic night would help me get comfortable talking in front of a crowd. I started to write and had over 20 minutes for my set before I found out I would only get 2 or 3 minutes for open mic.
So basically, I found there's like 3 types of people. There's those who are looking for true love, those who found true love, and those who have found that they are their own true love. So I've been the second type. I've been married and divorced twice. I know that sounds like I'm greedy or something, but I promise you, I did handle it in a green kind of way, you know, reduce, recycle, reuse. They're back out there being used by somebody.
So I might have been a little bit cynical, but I did create some rules to live by to be happy. And number 2 is one of my favorites, that if it's not a good time, it is a good story. And I have a ton of good stories. In fact, my therapist says that I probably have a New York bestseller inside of me. I guess we'll see. One of the things about writing is being introspective and seeing where your views come from. I think that the fact that my great-grandparents were immigrants and that my paternal grandma was born here just a couple years after her mom arrived from Sweden probably had a lot to do with my perspective on people. My maternal grandma was a writer too, my mom's little girl on the left, and she wrote poetry.
First, I'm going to read to you about the jelly bean tree. When spring's in the air and we hear the birds chant, we work in our yards and our gardens we plant. But did you ever think how great it would be if only we could plant a jelly bean tree?
She has a book called Pawnee, a ghost town. My second daughter has published 2 books, and they are of poetry also. Now, I haven't published any poetry books, but clearly I come from a family of writers and people who enjoy communicating that way. Professionally, I have experience communicating multiple different ways. And the more I learn, the better I'll be at communicating and connecting with people everywhere. My favorite part is when I can inspire somebody to tap into their own greatness. A couple years ago, I moved back to Missouri and I didn't expect to find love, but I did. I married my best friend's brother, who I had a crush on when I was 5, but that's a story for another time. My literacy journey has certainly taken me a lot of places, and who knows where I'll end up in the future. What about you? Where will your literacy journey take you?